What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hum Baby Baseball channel. Sammy Sosa, the Chicago Cub legend. He ain't been treated like a legend since he retired, I believe, back in 2007. He went back to the Rangers briefly before retiring, but he has been pretty much exiled from Chicago, which is absolutely insane considering the kind of numbers he put up while in a Chicago Cubs uniform. And yes, there is controversy surrounding Sammy Sosa. So is there controversy surrounding Barry Bonds. And the Giants, well, they didn't invite him back in 2008. They decided to move on from Barry Bonds at that point. I thought that was not the greatest decision because he was actually still very productive. And they bring him back for 2007 so he can break the record and then get out of here. Now you've broken the record. It's not worth it anymore. Whatever. But at least since retirement, they brought him back to the ballpark many times. They've hired him as a coach in spring training. He's part of the team. They put him on the Wall of Fame. They've had many ceremonies with Barry Bonds. He's been around the ballpark, and Barry Bonds is part of San Francisco Giants lore. You know, he's a Giants legend, and they embrace that, understandably, despite all the controversy. But the Chicago Cubs have been very, very scared to accept Sammy Sosa. I don't know what they think is going to happen if they invite Sammy Sosa. You know, I've seen Rafael Palmeiro in Texas at the Rangers ballpark at Globe Life Field signing autographs, and he's always been welcome back. Ivan Rodriguez as a statue there. You know, they're not scared of it, but for whatever reason, the Chicago Cubs, and by the way, Ivan Rodriguez is in the Hall of Fame, so he's never been officially proven to have done steroids, but definitely there's a connection there. But the Cubs are very scared to have Sammy Sosa at the ballpark for any kind of event. He has not been there since he's been a Cub. He's not been seen at Wrigley Field for anything. They don't celebrate him. There's no posters of him. There's no plaques of him. Maybe there is somewhere in Wrigley Field, but it's not very prominent. They've pretty much washed their hands of Sammy Sosa, and they don't want any part of it, despite the fact he is in the top 10 for almost every major offensive category, and he's number one in home runs, 545 home runs. He is third in RBIs. Only Cap Anson and Ernie Banks have more RBIs. They probably celebrate Cap Anson more than Sammy Sosa, and look up Cap Anson. See how great of a guy he was. He's in the top 10 in runs, 6th all-time. He is in the top 10 in hits, 9th all-time. This is just Chicago Cubs. Extra base hits, he's 3rd all-time. Total bases, he's 4th all-time. He's even in the top 10 in walks. He's in the top 10 in intentional walks, 3rd all-time. And he's 2nd in slugging and OPS, only Hack Wilson higher, but Hack Wilson nowhere near the amount of at-bats in a Cubs uniform as Sosa had. I'm not sure what the Cubs have been afraid of, but it looks like the 20 years of estrangement between the Cubs and Sosa was wrong. It was pretty malicious and really made no sense. I completely agree. And I believe now that Sosa's put out an apology that we're going to look at, the Cubs are going to welcome him back. But it's just pretty weird that the Cubs pretty much obviously required this apology. So let's take a look. And we have our statement here from Sammy Sosa. I left it all on the field for the Cubs and the Cubs fans because I wanted to win and make the fans happy. I love to see the fans at Wrigley in the right field bleachers every home game. I understand why some players in my era don't always get the recognition that our stats deserve. There were times I did whatever I could to recover from injuries in an effort to keep my strength up, to perform over 162 games. I never broke any laws, but in hindsight, I made mistakes and I apologize. We accomplished great things as a team, and I worked extremely hard in the batting cage to become a great hitter. Cubs fans are the best in the world, and I hope that fans, the Cubs, and I can all come together again and move forward. We can't change the past, but the future is bright. In my heart, I've always been a Cub, and I can't wait to see Cubs fans again, and that's from Sammy Say It Ain't Sosa. And there's a lot of support in the comment section from the fans. I don't understand why Sammy Sosa is apologizing over something so trivial. I wouldn't call it trivial, but baseball was boring and they made it fun. I mean, it was a massive scandal, but no doubt. But I like that the fans are supporting him. Look, you know, everyone makes mistakes, and at that time, steroids was rampant. It wasn't just Sammy Sosa. It wasn't just Mark McGwire. It wasn't just Barry Bonds. It wasn't just Brady Anderson hitting 50 home runs out of nowhere. For that reason, we suspect Brady Anderson, even though I'm not sure there's any proof on him. But it was just a lot of crazy stuff was happening. Home runs were going crazy. Pitchers were taking them as well. And then it creates the big debate. Now, I used to be before this, or even during the early steroid era and before the steroid era really kicked off, and there was talk of steroids and in football and maybe a little bit in baseball. Jose Canseco was taking them from an early time in his career. But I always thought steroids ain't gonna help that much. Steroids ain't gonna help you that much in baseball, because that's what I used to think. Because you can either hit a ball or you can't. It may help you get a little, in my mind, it just helped you get stronger, right? I didn't really understand how it helps you recover so quick, and that's how you're able to get so much stronger. And getting those muscles, yeah, that helps you because you're stronger, but you also get to stay healthy. 162 games, you feel fresh almost every single day. And that's something that we just don't see in Major League Baseball. It's a grind, and we see guys who maybe start a year hot, maybe look pretty good, and then they just kind of fall apart because it's a long season and little injuries add up. And that's probably the biggest thing steroids did. But I will say, it also helps you in the gym. You recover quick. You can go out and you can lift weights again. You work out, and that's why they're able to get so gigantic and so huge. And that definitely helps. To say Barry Bonds wasn't hitting the ball a little bit further after 2000 or so, I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, he was hitting in 2002, that home run in the World Series was just insane. How deep into the right field stands that thing went in Anaheim is just unbelievable. I can't see, skinny Barry Bonds putting that ball there. Bottom line is, I learned steroids definitely helps baseball players, especially hitters. It helps them an insane amount because they're fresh every day, 162. So whatever their talent level was, don't get me wrong, it doesn't make a superstar. It doesn't turn a regular player necessarily into a superstar, but it will take whatever you're good at and just elevate it, and you're at your best almost every day. That's what it does. Sammy Sosa, before he was on steroids, he had power, he had great potential, and on his best day, he was going to hit a home run or two. And all of a sudden, every day was his best day, and he's hitting 60 plus every year. So I do believe steroids does. I mean, look at it. Since the steroid era, have guys been hitting 60 home runs plus? Maybe one time with Judge, but it's pretty freaking rare. It's about as rare as it used to be. 50 is rare. Giants haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds. We need some steroid guys up in here. That's a joke before people freak out. But I will say, after putting out this apology, the Chicago Cubs almost immediately invited Sammy Sosa back to Wrigley Field, making me think that this was all organized, that Sammy maybe reached out and said, hey, I'd like to come back. I miss it there. I miss the fans and everything, and I've been completely ostracized. Can I please come back? I mean, it's been 20 years, and they're like, you need to put out an apology first, because they're just they're so scared of controversy, it's actually sad. And it's kind of ridiculous. You're not going to get canceled. You can do whatever you want. I put out videos all the time that are extremely controversial, and people don't like them, and what happens? I put out another video the next day, and life goes on. What are you going to do? What's going to happen here? I mean, let's go. I don't know what they're so scared of. Just like the Giants. They invited Barry Bonds back. They put him in the Wall of Fame. Are the Giants canceled? I don't think so. Even Jose Canseco's made some appearances in Oakland. You think they got canceled? Not for that. They canceled themselves, and now they're moving to Las Vegas, but not because Jose Canseco was there. So this whole thing is pretty dumb, in my opinion, that he had to put out this apology and that it's been so long. I felt a little bad for Sammy. I put him on some of my lists, and when I'm ranking players and great players and whatnot, some people usually get pissed off when I talk about Sammy. But again, the steroid era is tough. I think all these guys should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Sosa should be in. I think Bonds should be in. I think Clemens should be in. It's my view that they were not testing. They weren't holding them accountable. Professional athletes will find a way to win and to be at their best. And if that means cheating, they're going to cheat. It's not right to cheat. That's why you got to regulate your own sport. That's why you got to make sure they're not cheating. Find ways that players and teams are trying to cheat and make a rule against it and try to enforce it. They didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. They knew what was going on, and they didn't do that at all. So I don't put all the blame on the players, but I do think that they have to be considered greats of that era. And the way it is now, most of the greats of that era can't get in the Hall of Fame. A few of them can't because they didn't get proven to be on steroids. Jeff Bagwell, who may have been doing them. I'm not going to say he was. I don't know, but he may have. Ivan Rodriguez, I believe probably was, but don't know that for 100% fact. And Mike Piazza, there's been a lot of talk. Can't prove it. But those guys get in. McGwire, Canseco, Bonds, Sosa, Clemens, can't touch the Hall of Fame. Clemens, one of the greatest. One of the greatest. I don't particularly like Clemens. I don't know him personally, but kind of rubbed me the wrong way in some ways. But you know what? It doesn't matter. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. But other than that, pretty much skinny guys with not much power get in, okay? Greg Maddux, very crafty pitcher and obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Greg Maddux is one of my favorites, but all the big power guys can't get in. You know, Craig Biggio gets in, not a big power guy. But that's just the way it is, and it's a shame. But what can I do about it? At least the Cubs are letting Sammy Sosa back to Wrigley Field. He definitely deserves to be there. The fans deserve it. The fans deserve to see a legend. There's only so many of them. A lot of them have passed away. Ernie Banks has passed away. The Cubs don't have a lot of greats there. Mark Grace has been mostly working with the Diamondbacks. So the Cubs, you know, fans need some of these all-time greats to see around the ballpark. You know, we've been completely lucky here in San Francisco, and guys like Willie Mays and Willie McCovey and Orlando Cepeda were around the ballpark for the longest time, and unfortunately they all passed away. But now Barry Bonds is there. Matt Williams is our third base coach, and we have other legends show up from time to time from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So very fortunate about that. But let me know what you guys think about Sammy Sosa. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Should he have had to make this apology? Was this necessary? Why are the Cubs so scared of any kind of controversy? What's going on? Let me know in the comment section down below. You know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and check out the video linked above where I talk about different forms of cheating in Major League Baseball, including steroids, and why sometimes it's a big deal and fans freak out, and sometimes they're like, not a big deal. So check that one out. Have a great day, and we'll see you.